Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Hopelessly Casual. We're your hosts. Oh, fuck! that was absolutely beautiful. We'll keep running, I don't give a shit. Right, it's out in the open. My name's hello, I'm and this is Freya. I was going to use not a pseudonym, but my second name, and you're not going to get to know this one now, but with me is Freya. Say hi, Freya.
Hello there. That was a beautiful start. I love it.
Absolutely. It's so unusual calling you Freya, you know what I mean? Because I've been referring to you for all the time we've known each other by a different name, and now I have to get used to that.
For several years now.
You're
matching a different face to the name. I wonder how long it takes you to fuck that one up.
Yeah. we can beep that in post. I'm fairly sure.
We'll fix that in post. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
All the swearing stays in. It's just in case I'll fuck up the name. We'll have the beep in there. Beautiful. So yes, Hopelessly Casual. What's this all about? So basically, you and me were both massive nerds, I'd say.
Oh, huge ones.
Huge, you know, hugely into films, I think, hugely into video games, music, books, you know, like, well, that's not necessarily something nerdy, but, you know, like, the aspects I think we find most interesting about it.
Yeah.
When we're talking movies, we're talking highly nerdy things, like for me it's Star Wars, for example, it's Dune, it's anything, you know, that's very immersive. When we're talking books, I'm a massive fan of Terry Pratchett's, Douglas Adams.
I'm looking at the name right now at the bookshelf. There
exactly,
we go.
The bookshelf's filled with it. Video games, you know, like I've been playing from a very early age, but the whole thing I think about, you know, like us being casual about it is, we're not experts by any means.
Oh no, not by far.
I mean, you've studied, I've studied, you know, like film adjacent or film things.
True, but I still would consider us to be laymen at best.
Exactly.
That give an opinion that may be slightly more informed than the average public ones, just because we are coming from a different background.
True.
But no experts by any means. Also, no research done for anything of this
whatsoever. I can safely say I have no screen or papers in front of me. That might change depending on the topics of the episode.
That is true. But for now, we're winging it.
We're winging it, absolutely, with our massive, casual, and sometimes surprisingly in-depth knowledge of anything. Today, I think movies, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Because that is such a broad topic, we can get anywhere with that.
Yeah, we were literally thinking before we started. Okay, movies. That's a very broad topic.
Yeah.
As such. How do we narrow it down? And then for some reason we started talking about the Da Vinci Code.
It's because it was on last night, but I slept through it, and that completely leads us into the whole, it's a good film in terms of the book is good, and that's where the story works.
To be perfectly honest with you, I was opposed, and I haven't to this day read it. I was opposed to reading the book because it became so hugely popular. And when my mum was reading it, and nothing against my mum, you know, mum, if you're listening, love you. But when my mum was reading it, I realised, you know, like this was so mainstream. And don't get me wrong, something can be very popular and still be incredibly good.
I mean, Dan Brown is a very well-selling author.
He is.
I will say one thing that I thought about yesterday while watching the film, while I was still somewhat conscious, beautiful wine bottle pop there.
Thank you.
Is that with anything that comes down to mystery stories, any detective thing, or in this case, you know, what would you coin it, like modern treasure hunt type thing? I highly respect the research that the original author of the story had to put in to make it all work and to make it all come together. And especially with Illuminati, the Da Vinci Code, I think those two stand out, bar any Sherlock version. But those films are so, or the story, let's say the story to not discredit the book, is so knitted together in a way. It's so tight. So much so that actually I went to Paris with my parents.
Oh, wow.
When I was, oh my God, it must have been over 10 years ago now. And my mum was genuinely so crushed that there was no secret signs on the pavement, because that's the whole thing, right? That they're looking like in like around Notre Dame and the Louvre, that on the sidewalk there's like these Illuminati etchings in the stone, and my mum was looking for them the entire time we were there, and she had hope.
I mean, in a way, and in a way that's very endearing, but in another way that's also quite sad, because I remember I don't quite remember which movie it was, but I think they're in Paris. And there's this guy, he's quite annoyed, and there's a group of, I believe, elderly people walking up to him. It's like, sorry, do you happen to know where this and this is? We're on a Da Vinci Code scavenger hunt or something like this. And the problem is, as fun as these things are and as well researched as they are, it's also, like a bit like the precursor to today's, culture of conspiracy theories, you know what I mean? And the problem is, I don't think I have that much of a problem with the Da Vinci Code as such, be that the movie or the book. The first movie, yes, I have very, very few memories of it. Mm-hmm. I think I remember Paul Bettany in there.
Yes. Isn't he
He's the monk, isn't he?
Antagonist.
In a way. I mean, he's sort of also just, like a blunt instrument or something.
Isn't he like chastising
himself
exactly. The entire time? Yeah.
Still hot though, hot guy, fucking hell. But what really got to me was the flood of books, like in terms of, then everybody had to have this like historical thriller scavenger hunt sort of thing. Same thing when Twilight happened.
I was gonna say it's like the whole
a new genre is born,
or Maze Runner, or any young adult movie.
Exactly, and
like,
all of a sudden,
all the same, the dystopian young adult fiction that came after Catching Fire, Mockingbird, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, and then in Twilight especially, because it was so telling when I walked into a bookstore one day and you go by the young adult section, and they've got fantasy, they've got horror, they've got science fiction, and then there was like, I think, vampire drama, vampire romance. Exactly. And this is like when you no.
I laugh now, but that being said, I did read the rendition of the first Twilight book that came out 3 years ago, I believe, from Edward's perspective. And better believe you me, I immediately bought that and read it in one go. But I don't know. I will blame it on nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Did you read the books when they came out?
Of course I did.
I read the first one actually. It was recommended to me by two friends. Let it be known, at the time the book came out, we were both in high school, or the three of us were in high school.
Yeah.
Everybody was raging with hormones, and everybody had the hots for Edward Cullen. Mm-hmm. And I remember then the movie was announced, and everybody was like, "Well, I didn't imagine Edward like this, and he's not as hot as I imagined him."
Yeah.
And I read the book, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
But there's a very specific appeal to this. And
I don't know. If you just step out of the story, and we're not telling you anything new, I'm sure, but if you step out of the story just for one bloody second, it's fucking creepy.
It is very creepy.
I love watching you sleep. Oh, says the stalker who just committed, breaking and entering. And also, when you read the book, at least that was my impression, I don't know, it was like 250 pages. 200 pages of that is, like they adore each other and all those hoppy-boppy scenes.
Yeah, but towards like, I don't know, I want to say half or 3/4, then you add the action components in with the rivaling vampires and everything. And
I don't remember that up until the very last bit of the book.
I think the books do it a little bit better than the films in terms of they focus a little bit more on the how do I phrase it that is not problematic, the primal or the animalistic nature of the vampires.
Fucking's fine.
I guess also is the appeal of Edward himself, because I mean he is not exactly painted as an anti-hero. He just has the potential to become an anti-hero. Like Stephanie Meyer didn't have the balls to go all the way with him, to antagonize him like that, but making him walk this grey line of he is the good guy, but just about. And the films just didn't catch that. They are so horrendously boring.
I think my brain, out of self-preservation, forgot a lot about the book, actually. And I mean, it's easy to shit on the book, so guys, don't get annoyed or anything. But, you know, when you've got scenes in the movie, like, or, you know, like when you have it put in a visual manner, you know, like the thing, I remember reading in the book when he steps out into the sunlight.
Yeah.
And he starts sparkling, and it's been done to death. Everybody's been ranting about it, and I understand why. The thing is, every normal person, vampire or not, knows sparkling in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's not even considered ugly. And you know, like in the movie, I believe he steps out into the sunlight.
So hideous. Yeah,
exactly. And I made it that far, and she's like,
"You're made of diamonds. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, and she's like, you know, like with no expression whatsoever. And let's not rant on
cut off a fingernail. It'll pay my college tuition.
Like seriously, you know, like I mean, Kristen Stewart's been doing fine recently. I think she's become a very interesting actress.
To be fair, Robert Pattinson also has
absolutely.
Weight.
When Robert Pattinson these days is the leading man, I'll go and watch because I find it interesting what he tries.
I haven't seen his 2 latest movies yet, so I haven't seen The Batman yet. Shame on me. I still want to watch that. And I believe The Lighthouse is the black and white film
with Willem Dafoe.
Yes, exactly. And I really, 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 really want to watch that because it looks so innovative.
It does.
Like it just feels. And I have a friend who's an actor, dabbles a bit in directing, all that kind of stuff, and he said that he watched it when it came out, and he was blown away by the craftsmanship behind it, in terms of the script and in terms of the cinematography.
Wow.
Obviously, I cannot comment on that since I haven't seen it, but it has been recommended to me.
Then I'd say this: The Batman's still on Amazon Prime, and The Lighthouse we can easily get. So I say at some point we'll make another movie night and watch the 2 of them.
Absolutely.
Bring some time because the Batman's like 3 hours long.
I've heard.
I saw it in cinemas actually, and we're not going to talk about it now because first we're going to watch it. But I liked it. It did one thing absolutely right, was making Gotham City the protagonist, which is...
That's very fair.
I think Batman lives of that. And at the same time, though, I was never bored. But at some point, I sat in the cinema. I was like, "This is a long movie," because I was not aware it's almost 3 hours. And I'm like, I didn't even need to go to the bathroom. But I'm like, am I the only one who thinks this is a long movie?
Unusual, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, like that's the other thing. You know, people keep talking about movies getting longer and longer. You know, I think what was it, like 3/4 of a year ago or something? I attended the 50th anniversary screening of The Godfather.
Oh yeah,
that's almost 3 hours as well.
Yeah.
And they go by like this, in my opinion. I think it's an absolutely still incredible... I mean, we're talking about The Godfather.
Yeah,
here, like, we're not telling you anything new here.
But yeah.
But, you know, like, something that holds up so well, and I must have seen it at this point, you know, like 6 or 7 times, you know, and I'm not going to be gushing about The Godfather, you know, like, not that pretentious. But by God, is it good?
Yeah, of course. Undeniable. But I think in terms of movie length, what makes it feel... What makes movies feel longer now than they are, even though when they're in running time still comparable to the big epic films of yore, is the frequent cutting. I mean, that's nothing new, right? We all know that with the attention span of people going down, the cutting rate has drastically like sped up to more than double the amount.
Wow.
It was really fun in my film studies class. The very first lecture that I had, we're sitting in this huge auditorium. I think it was like 300 or 400 people that were attending that course, and the entire auditorium was split in half, and each half was assigned one task. I forget what we watched. We watched 2 films. One film from like just parts of it. One from like the 50s or 60s, and a recent one. And one half of the auditorium had to sort of knock on the table for the duration of any sort of pan, so any movement of the camera, any zoom, any dolly, any pan to left or right, anything like that. For the duration of that, as long as the camera was moving, they had to knock on the wood. And the other half of the auditorium had to clap for every single cut there was. And then you had to switch. First of all, it was insane how hard it was to do the clapping because your brain is so used to the cutting and is so used to tuning it out.
Exactly. You don't actually acknowledge it anymore.
I had to pick one part of the screen that I was just watching. I wasn't watching the entire image. I wasn't watching the film. I was staring at one point in one corner. And that way I could actually perceive the cuts. Because the second I started engaging with the story, my brain was just filtering it out. And the difference, like with the older, with the classic film, I believe it was something like Citizen Kane or something like a classic. Mm-hmm. It was like a clap here and there, maybe one every 30-40 seconds, if even.
Okay, fair.
And in comparison to that, any sort of, I think, I don't quote me on this because I don't know if that was it, but I believe they went for something horrible like a Michael Bay film.
Oh, wow.
In terms of really like popular cinema, like just money cow cinema. It sounded like applause. It was ridiculous. It was like people were applauding the screen because in an action sequence, explosions, fight scenes, any of that, you were just sitting there like.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Michael Bay studied film. I don't know if he has, and he's like, okay, I know there's this exercise. There's this exercise that they do with the clapping.
He was just making
this
fun
is
of us,
the only way I'll ever get fucking applause for any of the Transformers movies.
And the first ones were good. The first one started.
The first one was. I remember watching it once. I have barely any recollection of it, but fair enough. You've got giant.
It has Linkin Park in it.
Yeah, that's bad enough.
All three of them have Linkin Park songs in it.
Yes.
You heathen, you leave them alone.
Oh God, yes. Let's open that can of worms on another day. But the first Transformers, it's fair to make a Transformers movie, because it's an entertaining thing in and of itself.
The CGI is great.
The CGI looks great for the time, absolutely. But the thing is, I remember those movies getting longer and longer. And I remember watching, I think it was the third or the fourth, out of sheer morbid curiosity.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, okay, then it was the third. Because that is a movie of almost, 3 hours too?
Yeah, it's long.
And I watched it like in 3 separate
installments.
Portions, so to speak, because I couldn't get through it. I was bored to tears because you can create action in such a boring way, because another explosion, 2 more giant robots beating the shit out of each other, and the constant, incessant monologuing of fucking Optimus Prime as well. We'll return to Earth and we'll protect and it's like,
weren't you inspired by the huge robot to save space?
5 times in one fucking movie, and I'm like, buddy, we get it. Jesus,
bit of a savior complex, that one. Just a bit.
Or maybe just like forgetful as fuck because you already said that. Yeah, I'm saying it again.
But
please
very
don't.
Nice voice.
I don't know. At some point.
Who is the actor who speaks Optimus Prime? Who voices him? Because it's someone known.
I think I think in wasn't in the animated movie. Yeah, look it up. I don't agree. I think at some point Leonard Nimoy voiced a Transformers movie. Was it the animated one? I don't know. Leonard Nimoy Spot,
Optimus
original
Prime.
Spot. Yeah.
Oh, different people.
Let's go with the first one then.
Let's go for the first one. Let me just pull up the cast for Transformers.
Oh, this is good.
Transformers 2007. That is the first one, apparently.
2007, bloody hell.
Right. So we have Optimus Peter Cullen.
Oh, show me a picture.
You know him. I know him.
Yes, I do know him. Not what you picture Optimus Prime to look like.
Not in the slightest. Why do I know Peter Cullen?
He looks very likable though. I think he's got a very nice smile.
Absolutely, looks. Oh, he is Optimus Prime a lot actually. Why was that Chris Hemsworth was listed as well? I was just wondering why.
Okay.
But Peter Cullen, there's a lot of Winnie Pooh going on here. Just
it goes hand in hand. The Transformers Winnie the Pooh crossover is what we need right now. I'd watch that too.
Winnie Pooh would win because he would just pour honey in all the
I think
nooks and crannies of the old ones.
Want to harm Winnie the fucking Pooh? I recently reread the book. you know, like just like
I've never read it.
I have it up here somewhere. Just one chapter before you go to sleep. It's so wholesome. It's very nice.
That does sound like something that will put you to sleep, but in a good way. Mm-hmm. In a good way.
Absolutely. But yeah, in terms of, I don't know, I remember I was at a cinema in somewhere, I think in East London. We were going to watch It Only Comes at Night. Mm-hmm. And before that was a trailer for, don't let me lie, I believe, the fourth Transformers movie might have been. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so.
Yeah, cool.
And the trailer was nothing to write home about, but all of a sudden, the title card appears, Transformers. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it's no longer Transformers, it's Michael Bay's Transformers. Like, he's ventured with this one into auteur cinema. You know what I mean? I was just like, what's
the auteur Michael Bay? That is a beautiful tip. Like,
was there
Hitchcock just roll over in his grave.
Was there ever any doubt that this was a fucking Michael Bay movie? Or did we forget? No, we can't forget about it, because I remember in 2009 I was walking through Stratford. I remember that. And there was I think T-Mobile had a contest, a competition, something like that, where you could win sort of a part as an extra in the third installment of the Transformers saga. And I was like, wait, there were already two. What do you mean there's a third?
You're like, there's enough already. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Stop.
Put down the cameraman! But at the same time, don't get me wrong, I do love me some good popcorn, everything explodes cinema.
I also love some trash films.
Absolutely.
I hide, before anyone gets the wrong idea, my taste in movies ranges from very, very sophisticated and can appreciate a high art house film to absolute garbage.
Absolutely.
I adore the new Godzilla movies, for example.
I couldn't sit through those. I find them boring
love me
as
some
fuck.
monster movies. Give me a big CGI fucker who looks like he could actually walk down my street. I do not care about the people. I do not care about the actors. Just let me look at the huge lizard.
But yeah, exactly that. But what was it? The first new Godzilla movie.
Had Bryan Cranston in it, just saying.
Yeah, fair
For
enough.
about 10 minutes.
But it had hardly any Godzilla in it.
Yes, true.
And then you know, like, oh, they're finally going to fight. Someone closes a fucking door on the camera.
I guarantee you they didn't have the budget. I guarantee they pulled a Jurassic Park and went with, suspense will work. And it low-key did. I mean, what is the production company behind, I believe, Warner Brothers? Probably, I think it may be, because they have built this entire, I mean, Marvel had to start it, so everyone is doing it, this entire extended universe around it. But you have Godzilla, you have Kong Skull Island, which is a surprisingly good film.
I think I watched the last, 45 minutes while I was in a hotel room in Paris.
It's an action film that's there, but I mean, it has a pretty stellar cast: Tom Hiddleston, Sam Jackson, and others.
Isn't that Kong Skull Island?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got my things mixed up. I watched in a Paris hotel room. I watched Godzilla versus King Kong, or King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I watched
Godzilla
the entirety of Kong Skull Island. Mm-hmm. The way that one of the characters, he's got like two grenades and the way that he dies is hilarious, because it's completely pointless. But
it's hilarious.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't find it overly entertaining. But it's fucking Tom Hiddleston.
Exactly. It's fucking Tom Hiddleston, and that one kickstarted the entire thing that they could do ridiculous things as Godzilla King of Monsters, and then Godzilla vs Kong, and now on Apple TV Plus there is a TV show, which is just called Monarch, which is, you know, the secret agency sort of that
can't do without one.
That is
You've got S.H.I.E.L.D.
monitoring the Titans, they call them, because they couldn't get the rights for the word kaiju because Pacific Rim exists, and apparently Pacific Rim did coin the Japanese word for monster, which is kaiju.
Well done.
I don't know how they did
but
that.
Wasn't I don't know. I want to like these. I mean, you can watch the old Godzilla movies for the trash factor, you know, like for the sheer, you know, like...
I've written an essay on the first one during my studies.
Oh, there you go. But, you know, like, I always find it very interesting if you watch the old Godzilla movies ranging from I don't know when to I don't know when, but like the first one was commentary on, like atomic pollution and the madness of testing atomics.
Yes, exactly. And the evil implications of what Western technology can bring upon the sleepy, peaceful East.
Well, we're not going to touch that one tonight. But still, the thing is, I always thought, who the fuck in their right mind moves back to Tokyo after it's been destroyed for the umpteenth time by Godzilla? You
could say the same about New York at this point, though.
No, fair enough. But what are the prices on rent there? So just take it. Just take it.
Just have it. It'll be gone in half a year. Just have it.
Like seriously, enjoy while it lasts, which it won't, and there you go.
Yeah, if you read, it's gonna be DIY flats. It's gonna be like, here's the
Seriously.
parts. If you put it together yourself, you can have it for free.
You can have all this rubble and make something out of it. Oh, here he comes now. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I was actually thinking of going to see, what was it, King of Monsters or something like this? Because, I remember watching those movies with King Ghidorah and, Gamera and, Mothra and watching...
CGI fuckfest, but just really entertaining.
Yeah, but at the same time,
It has it has Millie Bobby Brown.
Fair enough, and I'll admit right now, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this, I never watched Stranger Things.
I watched the first season. That's it. And not even because I disliked it. I didn't dislike it. I watched the first. It was one of the shows. So like sometimes I have this thing where I start watching something and I'm binging it and I'm enjoying it while I binge it, and then I turn the TV off. And I will never turn it on again.
Right.
It doesn't, and not because it was bad, it wasn't. But for some reason, it is effort to put it back on.
For Stranger Things, and at some point, it's just too late to get back into it. I did that, for example, I think after 3 seasons of Sons of Anarchy. Fantastic show.
So I've heard.
Absolutely solid. And there was nothing wrong with it. Anything, featuring Katie Sagal, amazing immediately. But I think I watched like 3 seasons or 4 even, and I was like, Peaky Blinders, same thing. I watched into the.
You need to.
I watched the first 2 seasons, the first episode of the 3rd season, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Peaky Blinders.
I know.
Oh my god!
I mean, it started getting really excellent with season 2 because Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy. Enough said.
But not only Tom, everything. Just watch it. Just watch it. It is your obligation for so many reasons to watch the show.
Fair point.
Also, there's a film coming.
Is there?
Yeah, I don't know when exactly, but so the last season was season 6, and they didn't quite wrap things up yet. Mm-hmm. You thought they might, they didn't. But the creator, whose name escapes me right now,
that's fine.
He has said that he has a sort of story arc in his head.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't want to do a final season. Instead, he wanted to do it all a bit tighter and wrap it up with a film.
Interesting, because with Peaky Blinders, I understand that they give them the money for it.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching what's it called? Oh God, help me! The show about the lady wrestlers.
Oh, Glow?
Glow, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Loved it. Fantastic show.
Haven't seen it yet, but I've heard very good things about it.
I think it's only two seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I heard it got cancelled by Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. They got cancelled, and from what I've heard, they were supposed to go out with a movie, which would have been great, because I think that show could have done a lot more. Had so much potential, in my opinion. I loved it. But yeah, they never got the money for the film, which sucks a lot. But then again, if we're talking controversial endings, I watched the entirety of The Sopranos, and The Sopranos is notorious for the ending of the last season.
Yeah.
Not going to spoil it for you. It's
but
an excellent.
I know that it kick-started the whole great show, bad ending type thing.
Sort of, It's not necessarily a bad ending. It's just like it in no way I feel gives you any satisfaction. But at the same time, I think they stopped at the right moment because they did like 6.5 seasons. Mm-hmm. Because, when you buy the DVDs, it's season 6 and then season 6 part 2.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they did a movie, I think, like a couple of 3 years ago, The Many Saints of Newark, I think it was called, about the young Tony Soprano. Haven't watched it yet, but I hear good things about it. When it comes to mafia movies, I'm in immediately.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's so interesting. The film came and went, and I had no time to go and see it. But I always find it very interesting when it starts, like with a TV show, and it turns in any shape, way, or form into a movie.
Because that way around, you have the character depth already established,
Absolutely.
and then it gives you time to explore it in a more cinematographical way.
At the same time, though, I believe we're more used to the fact of first having a movie and then a TV show. Yeah. Even the original Planet of the Apes had, like, I think, 3 sequels. I recently watched the original Planet of the Apes. Surprisingly still holds up.
Yeah.
And it later had a very short-lived TV show, which I suppose looked like crap.
Can only imagine guys in horses, in horse suits and in ape suits, just like...
Well, like what was really funny about watching the first, Planet of the Apes, the makeup and the masks are surprisingly good to this very day. Like you
practical effects.
Yeah, true. But you'd think they might have a lack of facial expression. They don't. It's surprisingly good. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch, after the original Planet of the Apes, I'm going to watch the remake by Tim Burton. That's the one from, I believe, 2001 or something like this, with starring Mark Wahlberg, Helena Bonham Carter, Chris Tofferson, and I started watching it, and like the makeup effects are by Rick Baker. Rick Baker, American Werewolf in London, the godfather of good makeup effects. And Tim Roth is in it too, and Tim Roth is just the whole time a pissed off monkey, and it's so stupid. I sat through for like, the effects look fine, the makeup's incredible. 45 minutes into it, I'm like, fuck no. And this is I believe, sometimes I feel like watching through an entire movie to see, like maybe I'm missing the point here. I did so with Lars von Trier's Melancholia. I'll never get that time of my life back. It was just plain bad. I don't care what the critics say. But Planet of the Apes was simply not worth my time. And we're talking to someone who still to this very day defends the first live-action Super Mario Brothers movie. Because I think that was great.
I saw that.
That's fantastic. I don't care what anyone says.
But I will say, the new one with Jack Black as Bowser, it's fun. It's animated. It's not real life. It's an animated.
Yeah.
But I had a brilliant time with it.
Oh, fair enough. I'm still thinking about watching.
You will love it because it's just stuck full of little Easter eggs and like little peeks. All the Mario games, all of them. Like from Mario Kart to tennis to Mario 64 to all of it.
But isn't that interesting in terms of to see how things sort of, I don't know, overlap more easily these days, because when I was little, it was almost unthinkable to get like a t-shirt with Mario on it. Today it's in any Primark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Almost any fandom you can get official merchandise for, If not, you go on redbubble.com and you get unlicensed merchandise basically by independent artists.
Star Wars probably, no?
Well, Star Wars, yes. But at the same time, like the whole George Lucas secured himself some merchandise rights and whatnot. But to think about this, like how a video game franchise can be turned into a movie. Like it happened before in the past. Again, like I think it was 1993's Super Mario Brothers. Again, I'm the only person on the planet who likes it. And there were other, adaptations before that, and that's perfectly fine. But the way, like how Sonic first almost didn't come out because of the bad reaction.
And then the internet saved the animation of it. That was the one time the internet did a good thing collectively.
Well, they did the same with the movie Cats.
Yeah, but Cats still looked cursed.
Absolutely.
Sonic was saved.
Absolutely, but Cats could have looked worse. Still a shit movie. But at the same time,
I kind of want to see it.
if you think about it, Sonic has 2 movies, both fairly well received. At the same time, incredible to think about. You've got a fan reaction and the movie actively changes.
Yeah.
We're not talking about any nonsense like fans saying, give us the rights to Star Wars, we're going to redo.
The creators actually listened to Twitter.
They listened to Twitter, and it was something that was, I'd say, with what the industry is today, which was reasonable to do when they say changed the animation style of the character, and it did the movie well.
Yeah, it did.
It did the movie well. Jim Carrey as Robotnik, interesting choice, but I think it works because
Wasn't
he's
that
cartoony
his last
enough.
hurrah? Wasn't that Jim Carrey's official last film? Where he was like,
I don't
I'm
know.
retiring from acting now.
Does he?
I believe so. I heard something to that effect the other day, and I'm not entirely sure if it's true, but I haven't seen Sonic, but it was something about his last line being very emotional because it...
But he was also in the sequel.
Was there a sequel already?
Yeah, Sonic 2. I do believe there's a sequel, pretty sure.
I do not think there's a sequel
There's
yet.
a sequel, absolutely.
Wait, I'm looking it up. But Sonic only came out, what, 2 years ago?
No. The first Sonic must have been like 5 years at this point. I don't know. Look it up. I'm pretty sure there's a sequel.
Okay, so we're both correct and incorrect.
Oh, wow.
So Sonic came out in 2020.
Oh, fair.
So it hasn't been that long. However, apparently there is a Sonic 2 which came out last year.
Look at that.
And
Jim Carrey's in both.
Jim Carrey is in it. So maybe this one was his last hurrah.
Might
Maybe
be.
the second one.
Might be.
Because I did hear something to that effect just like the other day, and I was thinking what a weird film for Jim Carrey of all people. I mean, it fits the weird...
It is a comedic role, you know.
It does, but...
There's far worse in terms of, you know, like having movies before you retire, and we're talking here Sean Connery, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That was when he retired. And to this day, I haven't watched it in like, I don't know, 12 years. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but at the same time, I've also years later read the, you know, like graphic novel by Alan Moore. Yeah. And of course, Alan Moore never liked any, you know, like adaptations of his movies, of his graphic novels, which is fair. And, you know, like the graphic novels are great. But in terms of, you know, like mindless popcorn sort of adventure fun,
let's call it
I thought it was nice.
You know,
yeah, I mean, of course, you know, like I think these days, you know, some projects are handled smarter than others when they say, okay, you know, like this is too big of a source material. Yeah. We'll turn it into a TV show. So you've got like, even if it's a limited series, you've got like 10 episodes. And for example, this is what they could have done with Watchmen, because Watchmen suffers immensely under being like, I think 2.5 hours long, you know, because it's a very complex story.
Yes.
It's not for nothing the only graphic novel to this day, I believe, that's on the New York Times 100 best books of all time. Don't quote me on the name of the list. But it's celebrated beyond belief.
It's the one thing that nerds get to justify our nerddom be sophisticated.
Say again, sorry.
To have our nerddom be sophisticated.
Fair enough. But, you know,
New York Times said it's good. See, we're not just trash.
Well, then again, I'm thinking, you know, like you can't pick up an English, you know, like a book in the English language where it doesn't say #1 New York Times bestseller.
Isn't that right? It's ridiculous.
Do you realise
you just go to Waterstones once, and then everything you see.
It either says that, or it says from the New York Times #1 best-selling author.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, like this book might be trash.
And I have read some trash with that recommendation. Let me tell you.
But let me be honest with you. A bestseller is not necessarily a good book. You know, like it might cater to the lowest common denominator. Not get it.
50 Shades of Grey.
Not trying to get too highbrow here, but there's a reason I normally don't read anything off the bestseller list. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of great books on there, absolutely, but it's especially when something and that goes for supposedly, you know, like artsy-fartsy stuff as well. You know, like in terms of movies. To this very day, I haven't watched Amelie.
Neither have I.
Because I remember at the time, me and my best friend, we were going out of our way to, you know, like watch some movies off the beaten path. We both came from a very small city, small town really, where there was one cinema with, I think, like 3 screens, and all they ever showed was, you know, like the blockbuster movies. So, you know, like we went to the next town over where they showed more, what would you call it? Not more sophisticated, that's the wrong word.
Outlandish.
No, outlandish sounds like it was just, you know, David Lynch up and down. But, you know, like we watched things like Thank You for Smoking there, or, you know, like Babel, you know, by Iñárritu, and stuff like that, and got to know a bit more of this side of cinema, because we started to get interested in that.
Yeah.
There was actually a screening of Citizen Kane at some point, so I actually got to see that one on the big screen, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But Amelie, when all of a sudden, and we tried to get into it, and I was always interested in movies. That's why I chose a career as an actor. I always was fascinated by movies, and I thought, okay, some movies are better than others for different reasons, and all of a sudden, everyone and their mother came up to me and said, like, oh, you have to watch Amelie, it's such a good movie. That would have been fine. But when all of a sudden, people who up until this point only consumed, like what was basically presented to them by the telly, told me, oh, it's art. I'm like, I don't know, and it might be a really, really good film, because a lot of people whose opinion I really, really respect say it's a very good movie, but to this day I haven't watched it. There's such a thing as like when something gets hyped too much in a certain way, I don't know. I sort of shut down and I refuse.
I have such an issue with people coming up to me and be like, you need to watch this is art, because it's such a subjective term. Like, not to get like into philosophical territory here, but like what people consider art is so flexible.
Absolutely.
And everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and everyone has their likes and dislikes, and that's so fine and that's so fair. But don't justify it with something as broad as like, this is your favorite movie, and because it is your favorite movie, be like, this is art. Or say you've watched something really weird, really avant-garde-y, that's so, but just because it's avant-gardistic, just because it is not a blockbuster, doesn't automatically make it art.
No,
and if that is the only selling point you can give me to make me watch something, you better believe I won't. Because if there's no substance to your recommendation, don't waste my time.
Fair, and I'm thinking, when someone comes up to me and says like, I find this film very interesting, maybe give it a watch.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what you think about it. That's fair.
That's so intriguing.
I'm thinking, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's go. But for example, I absolutely love The Tree of Life. It's by oh god, no, I forgot his name. Well, that bodes well for me.
I love it.
Terrence Malick, an incredibly respected filmmaker. He directed The Thin Red Line, for example. He's very well known for that. Knight of Cups, To the Wonder, and all that. Especially like everything forward from Tree of Life is considered very artsy fartsy, and some people love it, some people hate it, and I understand both, because you can find it absolutely pretentious. I can see that, but at the same time, Terrence Malick does something. In my opinion, I feel like he has a really living process with what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because with A Thin Red Line, for example, it has an incredible list of names. Sean Penn's in there, Adrian Brody's in there, Woody Harrelson's in there.
Okay.
George Clooney's in there.
Oh right.
Thank God.
Putting out all
only for one scene to the towards the very end. And the thing is, the only actor in it who's got single billing is Sean Penn at the beginning. Everybody else is like in columns, or at least pairs of two. And the interesting bit is, which is so interesting about Terrence Malick as a filmmaker, Adrian Brody was cast as the main actor. He filmed so much, recorded so many lines, and by the end of it, he's in the movie a total of 5 minutes. He never once speaks. And, he wasn't told that. So he comes to the red carpet event, he goes to the premiere of it.
Oh, that's so bleak. Oh my God.
And he sits in it, and, he's got all his friends there apparently too. And they're just like, and he realizes he's barely in the movie, doesn't talk once, if I remember correctly. And
safe face there.
And
oh my God,
I think he's not the only actor who ever suffered that fate. But that's literally the people who worked with Terrence Malick said he finds the movie during editing, where he says like, okay, now I'm going to give you the actual structure of the movie. And for The Thin Red Line, that works incredibly well. It's an incredibly well written, well acted, and well put together World War II drama.
Of what sculptors tend to say about their work, that they're like, I have this slab of marble in front of me, and I don't really know what to do with it until I start. And as I am chopping away things from it, that's how I find the statue in it.
That's fair enough. I mean, the thing.
Only that you don't have to cut a lead actor. Bless his heart, Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
imagine.
but the thing is, movie making is an incredibly expensive art form.
Don't we know it?
And the thing is, you have to be incredibly respected. First of all, to get that many, big names. Some of them weren't big names at the time.
Yeah.
But still, you see them and you think like, wow, and everybody wants to be in a Terrence Malick movie. It doesn't matter if it's if it's received as good or bad. But then to say like, okay, we don't know exactly what we're going to get towards the end, and of course you can have studio interference.
Keep him guessing.
Which apparently doesn't happen with him so much. And I remember when I think Tree of Life came out, he had done very few movies over a span of quite a few more years, yet he was still one of the most respected directors in Hollywood for what he could do. And but the thing is, I think he also, because he's got a lot of voiceover narration from a lot of the actors, and he recorded over 3 hours of voiceovers with, oh God, I keep forgetting names today, with either a musician or an actor who was not even in the movie.
Fair enough.
And he completely cut that because he thought having different, different narrations from or different lines of different narrators from different actors' points of views in the movie is better than having one narrator who's not even in the movie. That ended up, there's 3 hours of material you're not getting back, and this is just, we're talking audio recordings, not nearly as expensive as making a movie.
I mean, from the perspective of a director, or a cutter, editor, producer, you name it, from anyone sitting, say, more in the quotation mark backseat, behind the camera, that is a process that makes a lot of sense and is very, very understandable. Looking at it from an actor's perspective, though, as we both are, that is rough.
At the same time, I'm pretty sure there's a moment where you realise, okay, I remember that scene not going too well for me. I hope it's either cut down in the movie or didn't, or was left behind on the cutting room floor. And I'm pretty sure that happens even to, A-list actors.
For sure, yes.
Absolutely.
And these things happen all the time. I think it's more the lack of communication. I guess if you're briefed prior, say to the cinema release event,
hi Adrian, you're not in that movie.
Mate,
have fun.
just FYI, don't get I don't want you to expect anything that's not happening here. So I know we cast you initially as the lead. Sorry, pal.
But you might want to speak to your friends before we go into that cinema.
Because can you imagine how scarlet is that? You're sitting there with your family, with your friends, and you have told them, this is my film. And then
I'm the lead in a Terrence Malick movie. I mean, Adrian Brody was doing a right for himself. He was in The Pianist, which is an absolutely outstanding performance.
Yeah.
But
and I'm not saying but just in that instance, I mean, if you think about it, this is absolute. Maybe those scenes were great, and it would have done for a magnificent movie. But maybe, I don't know, at the concession stand at that day, I don't know, towards the beginning of the whole process of filming the movie, Adrian Brody ate the last tuna salad sandwich. And Terrence Malick didn't get one, and so okay, motherfucker, you're not being, you're no longer my lead, and I'm not gonna tell you. Look, tempers are high on set. one misstep can
And Terrence Malick's well known for holding a grudge. It's like, are you sure you want to cut? I'm cutting him almost entirely from that movie. He's
motherfucker, that was my sandwich.
We're leaving him in that movie, but the fucker is not gonna have a single line in a 3-hour movie.
You may be onto something there, because that is worse than just cutting him, period.
Come on, Hollywood, we've got a new conspiracy theory.
Oh my god. Oh, you're gonna love movies for that, though.
Absolutely.
It's just the whole intricacy behind it. If you're not too familiar with the process, I don't think you realize how much of it is just putting together a puzzle.
Absolutely.
It's a jigsaw. And you're taking the bits and pieces. Fuck, a word is one piece in the entire process, and you can cut it down to just one utterance of an actor, and you can pick and choose there.
Yeah.
How overwhelming is that?
Absolutely. And I mean, remember there was this movie, it was supposed to be drama when it first came out, Mummy Dearest. I think it's the real life story of a Hollywood actress that was adopted by a Hollywood diva, as you would call her back in the day, I suppose, and who was such a narcissist that she couldn't, just raise a child. And like without utterly scarring it, but she could do so much better than most of our parents probably could.
I was gonna say,
And
it's not right.
it completely bombed and was laughed out of cinemas when it first aired. And then the studio was like, okay, let's turn this around. They brought it back into cinemas. This time marketed as a comedy, and it apparently did quite well. Where I'm just thinking like, wow. I mean,
marketing, that's how you sell it.
No, fair enough. But if you're any part of the creative crew of this, and you have a vision going on with what you're trying to do, you can say, okay, we tried to do this, it fucking failed.
But that's hard to do when you have a vision. That's your baby.
I know.
Admitting that failed, that something else came out, it's like picking a favorite child.
But at the same time, you can say, okay, it failed, fair enough, but my vision stands as such. And now the studio is telling me I made a comedy, or it's telling the world we made a comedy, and it's not a fucking comedy. This is like a child.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts bad.
I suppose it would.
It's just the whole thing of like, it's so hard to separate yourself as the creator of something from the product, and I mean that is a crucial part of any part of the entertainment industry. And if you are a singer, if you're a dancer, if you're an author, you name it, right? But I think especially in the medium that is film, as mainstream, popular, and universal as it is globally, that is such a hit to take.
Yes,
to be like,
absolutely.
I created something, it is the opposite of what I meant to do, but if I just sort of sell my entire artistic process to make money.
I mean, if you look at Tommy Wiseau's The Room, for example.
I haven't seen it.
I have.
I need to watch it. It has been on my must-watch list for so long.
If you go to the Prince Charles Cinema in Trafalgar Square,
I know it shows.
They have monthly screenings.
Leicester Square.
Of course, not Trafalgar Square.
Yeah.
They've got monthly screenings.
I know. In 4 years, I didn't manage once.
And I think Tommy Wiseau, I have only, some things I read about him and, the disaster artist to fall back on that. Mm-hmm. But we're talking somebody who's clearly a narcissist.
Very clear.
And he wasn't gonna, he's making a lot of money and getting a lot of attention of the movie still because it's so bad. It's quite entertaining. Isn't it
officially the worst movie ever produced?
No, I think the worst movie ever produced is still, somewhat held by Plan 9 from Outer Space by Ed Wood.
Oh, true.
Even
but
though
there might be a second place, something like that.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've seen many movies that are far worse than this. But still, Tommy Wiseau turned it around and said, like, no, this was my intention, and that's bullshit. Because Tommy Wiseau, I remember, and we all know now, James Franco apparently is not a good person. But I remember when The Disaster Artist, I think, got an award for something. Mm. He was on stage, basically, giving a short speech saying thank you, and then Tommy Wiseau was trying to get to the microphone, and he wouldn't let him.
Yeah, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, that says a lot. And I think Tommy Wiseau, not recently, but a few years ago, made another movie. I think it was called something along the lines of Friends, something I know people are probably repeatedly screaming at their whatever devices they're listening on right now for me not knowing names. But I think he did it with the same actor he did The Room with. And bloody hell, the thing is that what's so entertaining about Tommy Wiseau is it's like he's got no idea how to properly human. And don't get me wrong.
That's a very good summary. Yeah.
don't get me wrong. There's being on the spectrum and all of that, and I've got sympathy for that. And there's a lot of I don't mean sympathy as such, but this has to be
put in the right context.
This has to be taken into consideration as well, because we live in a diverse society, and I'm very grateful for that.
Of course.
But it's taken so far, and the way he he's marketing it, and he sometimes attends
because you never know what is a persona or not, and the second it could be a persona that he puts on, that's when you are like, this is sort of problematic.
if he puts on a persona, he's been doing so publicly for years, for quite some time now, for most of his public life, or like people for how people know him.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible. But like if you think about it, it's not unheard of. If you think about like someone like Andy Kaufman, that was put into made into a movie with like Jim Carrey. He invented a type of comedy that was unheard of up until this point. He made himself so unlikable, and he did so quite successfully by antagonizing this whole wrestling thingy, him challenging whoever wanted to come into the ring, especially women, like being a sexist, a chauvinist and all that. That was all what we would call today, I suppose, trolling. The problem is it's so easy to do these days that it's become a real problem. When somebody was doing it back then, you could put it into proper context and say, even though it was problematic then, because a lot of people back then or today don't do their research and realize this is a persona.
People just never do.
And at the same time, you can of course always question, is it really necessary to do that?
Yeah, I guess that it comes down to the question of where do your ethics kick in terms of public appearance, because you can justify a lot under the term entertainment, and if it gets to a point where you are basically exploiting people's unwillingness or simply lack of time, really, nowadays, where you have who has time to Google everyone? Why would you do that to yourself? You at some point you gotta cut your losses and just take things at face value.
It's true.
And if you are smart enough to know this, the step to exploiting that is literally just something that's like, will your ethics keep you from that or not?
Exactly.
And that unfortunately is a potentially very lucrative business.
Oh, it is, yes.
But at the same time, and I mean, speaking as someone who is, or two people who are involved in the entertainment industry themselves, it casts such a bad light on it, because it's such an annoying thing that the people that scream the loudest get the most attention no matter what they do.
Well, I mean, in a way where you could use it, or the way it's used by, for example, the personas of Sacha Baron Cohen, namely Borat.
Such an ambivalent relationship to those films. Ali
G, for example. The Ali G movie was a purely fictional thing, but for example, Borat, he's interacting with people who are not aware of the fact that he's...
I will say, I hate the first Borat, because I personally do not enjoy exploiting people for comedy, for humor, even if it is sort of like most of the time the interactions are like solved in the aftermath. Mm-hmm. But making people uncomfortable, or in any form, like anything that makes me cringe, so when people don't really know what's happening, and I personally don't like that. But Borat was such a cult following that I refused for a long time to watch the second one. I recently had
I haven't yet.
Friends of mine have sat me down and were like, watch it. Because the difference is, Borat is so known then that most of the people that interact with him, in my opinion, when you watch it, know what's up.
Okay.
They actually had trouble filming because people recognized him.
Fair enough.
And that made it way more enjoyable for me, because it was still unscripted somewhat, and it was still because Sacha Baron Cohen is doing an amazing job as the character. Do not get me wrong. From an actor's perspective, I have all the respect for that role, because that improv that he does there.
But I'm still thinking back to the Ali G show. I was a bit too young to enjoy it when it first came out, but when this character of Ali G sat down with, politicians who were blissfully unaware that this was, clearly a character, and he, asks all the right questions about homosexuality and all that, an acceptance for that.
I love that. That is using your powers for good.
And that's it. If you do to Joe Everyman or whatever, I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's okay. Depending, unless they're, for example, a far right extremist, then go fuck them.
Yeah, sure. Was gonna say then they just ask.
But if you're a public figure, you open yourself up to ridicule,
also
satire,
stress on
whatever.
Public figure. That's also a figure in of itself. You can tell me what you want, but politicians also put on a face.
Exactly.
They have to.
And at the same time, okay, you decided to publicly endorse what
Yeah,
you're doing.
it's a choice.
So if you're being made fun of for that, that's the risk you take.
Absolutely.
And I was fine with that. But
do give the second Borat a watch, though.
I will.
It is very problematic still, but endearingly so.
But that's the interesting thing. For example, I feel like with someone like Sacha Baron Cohen, when he was still doing those things, the biggest risk he takes, I feel, and I might be wrong, is he himself. Which, you know, like is similar to, like, let's say Marina Abramovich when she does her, like art, her performance art.
Yeah.
You know, when she puts a loaded gun on the table.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, technically speaking, whoever walks up to her could just take the gun and shoot into the crowd.
Absolutely.
That's true. But, and, like, that's of course controversial as well. Like, should she put herself in that danger, maybe traumatize people if somebody shoots her? Fair enough. But, like, even though I don't think you should self-harm, it's still your choice. If you want to open yourself up to that kind of, like,
risk,
harm,
danger.
risk, whatever,
Yeah.
know, I think it's not okay to, like, involve a third party, like somebody else against
Agreed.
their will, like there's this, for example, this is why when you go on YouTube and you've got those, supposed pranks, that are highly successful, I'm like,
No.
fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Just please don't. Like, I never got the appeal.
No.
I never
Really,
got
no.
the appeal because, I don't know, I just don't enjoy making fun of others. Which is interesting because humor always makes fun of others. But, like, that is, you cannot show me one joke or one installment of humor that is not happening because you're laughing at someone.
I greatly enjoy making fun of others, you know me.
Yes,
I like to do that.
that's what we're
but
doing.
I also greatly enjoy making fun of myself, and
Exactly.
that too. You know that too. I'm nowhere more relentless than when it comes to myself.
It's actually a thing where Bianca Del Rio, drag queen, highly successful drag queen and insult comic, she says that's what she does. She's like, I mercilessly rip into myself, and that's why I now get to make fun of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I make fun of myself again, and now I'm making fun of you. And she takes it to such high levels that she has people begging her to just burn me. Just do it. It's brilliant. It's a talent. It's insane.
If you're good at this, very famous people will beg you to roast you.
It's hilarious.
But, like, to maybe come full circle to movies again, I remember, and I think this is what made him so utterly likable to me, seeing Channing Tatum in 21 Jump Street.
Yes.
And up until this point, I had him pegged for, like, a stupid, muscle-bound fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm like, okay, Jonah Hill is in this one. Let's give it a watch. I don't know. And the way he takes the piss out of his own stereotype, the fact that he does that in a way is like, it makes it so clear he's so aware of it.
It's hilarious.
How people see him.
It's so likable.
And, like, he's not taking himself serious at all. No. But at the same time, and I was watching movies he did after that and movies he'd done before that ever since. And even though he doesn't take himself too seriously,
he takes the role seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any project he's on, he gives it his absolute all. And even something like Step Up, which is a dance movie, highly enjoyable choreographies and everything.
Very impressive as well, Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. Not a good movie in and of itself, but, he gives it his all. He really fucking does.
Yeah.
And when you watch him, for example, in Hail Caesar, the Coen Brothers movie, he said in an interview he was so bloody afraid of fucking up his tap dance routine because everyone else was so good. Or I saw him.
That's so authentic. I love that.
I saw him in the Hateful Eight.
Same.
I hated that movie.
It's
I
wonderful.
hated that movie. And I don't care.
So boring.
I don't care what all the critics say. Oh, it's such nice political commentary. No, it's fucking not.
I remember.
But the best actor in that bloody movie, and I don't care what anyone says, Channing fucking Tatum. And I sat in the cinema. I was so annoyed by that movie. And then Channing Tatum came in. I was like, oh, fair enough. And I realised halfway through his performance, if your best actor in your movie is Channing fucking Tatum, nothing against the guy, but he's not known as a character actor, even though I love him, is Channing Tatum, you've got a problem. Because who the fuck still casts, what's his face? Michael Madsen. Yeah. Michael Madsen can only play Michael fucking Madsen. And, and he's not even appealing in that way.
I feel like Tarantino really shat the bed with The Hateful Eight. Like, I mean, I haven't seen all of the Tarantino films, I believe, but I've seen over half, most of them. I've seen Reservoir Dogs. I've seen Kill Bill. I've seen, of course, Inglourious Bastards.
Jackie Brown.
That's
a fucking good movie. Watch that one.
Then The Hateful Eight, Django Unchained, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and The Hateful Eight is by far
it's so bad.
I don't remember it. I remember an 8-minute opening track shot of a snowy landscape zooming in on a church, and then I remember them all being in a room. That's all I remember.
Let me tell you one thing. I remember a surprising amount of this movie. It
made me want to play Red Dead Redemption 2. That's what it did.
Fair point. And there you go, massive nerds in the room.
Yeah.
But I remember a surprising amount of this movie because I hated it so much, and I went with a friend, a mutual friend we both know, also an actor, and big fan of Tarantino's actually. And we sat in there, and it's like halfway through the movie, it's like, this is shit, right? This is not good. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Of course,
people love this movie, fair enough. But I was sitting there, and I remember quite a lot about this movie because I hated it so much. But fuck it all, if Tarantino knows one thing, that's good songs. By the end of it, it's the last song that plays over the credits is Roy Orbison's There Won't Be Many Coming Home.
Oh.
Fantastic tune. And any, you can basically buy the, soundtrack compilation of any Tarantino movie, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
You really can't. The guy has... And I think, I find it weird that he's, so publicly living out his fetishes in his movies. If I know that as the person working there, yes, you can be professional about this and say, okay, I know he's going to, probably, find this quite, I don't know, hot.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't care. Fair.
Or you're smart and just paint your toenails before the casting.
He doesn't like that.
I don't know, probably.
Oh, right. Now I get it. But the same thing is, the soundtracks are impeccable.
Yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And again, if you haven't watched it, I think it's a bit underrated. I watched Reservoir Dogs as well, which is an incredible, I think this was his first major movie, they was allowed to direct.
It is the closest he gets to auteur cinema, I feel, because with the storytelling and how he sets up the story and how it unfolds,
and one of the few movies where Michael Madsen is sort of interesting.
Yeah.
And then I watched Jackie Brown, which I think is an incredible movie. But this whole thing of Tarantino's, paying sort of homage to genres of cinema that no longer exist, it gets old, I feel.
It does get old. I appreciate the sentiment of it because I get the appeal that you wanna honor your roots, sort of, if that's what it is. If it is a cash cow to milk what worked once, try again.
I don't think
it is. I don't think it is. So,
no, exactly.
I appreciate the sentiment of it.
For that, I think these genres are way too far back to still be sort of lucrative.
Yeah.
For example, Nazi exploitation, or the We Kill Hitler movie. During the time that Hitler was in power, I think over 300 movies were made where he was either kidnapped or killed during his time in power.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love a good Hitler killing.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Doctor Who, let's go.
I didn't expect it in The Hateful Eight until I realized what this kind of movie, what this movie was.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for the movie because except for Christoph Waltz's performance, it's been talked to death. It's brilliant.
Christoph Waltz is just a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
in my eyes, he can't do no right. I see him and I love him as an antagonist, as a protagonist. I don't care.
I watched the Tarzan movie he was in. The one with I think one of the Skarsgård brothers.
Yeah,
he was good in that one too. He didn't have to be.
Yeah.
And
he didn't have to be, but he still
was. This was a Tarzan movie. But I mean, I think Margaret Robbie's in there as well.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh.
But yeah, and I don't know. For me, Tarantino, he's not boring in any way, except for The Hateful Eight. That was fucking boring.
I was gonna say,
And at the same time, for example, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I found absolutely surprising in how well it transported the feel of a movie that was done in the 60s. It felt authentic, like I've never seen anything
like
before shot outside the actual fucking 60s.
Yeah. But I will say Tarantino movies, bar Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards, just because they hit a bit more into the, what would you call it, mainstream action film, I feel. Tarantino, like the rest of the Tarantino movies I've seen, have very little rewatchability for me. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the last Tarantino film that I watched. I watched it about 1.5 years ago-ish. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the atmosphere transported in it. I enjoyed the little Easter eggs spread throughout it that you understand if you are somewhat involved in American culture and history of the 60s, be it Hollywood or just serial killer nods.
Very much.
And I enjoyed the suspension because you're watching a Tarantino film, you expect blood and gore, and it only really accumulates in the end.
I did not see that coming.
I was waiting for it the entire time, and it kind of paid off when it happened because it had done a suspense thing that had kept me not on the edge of my seat. That would be that would be too strong, but it was sort of like I had a slightly elevated heart rate throughout because I was always like ready to jump at it. I was ready for it to happen, and then it did, but...
Well, you know, where I thought this was going to happen was when Brad Pitt's character enters this ranch.
Yeah, same. And the fact that it doesn't.
Exactly.
The fact that he doesn't kill the Manson family is like...
No. Well, or they kill him.
Yeah, or they kill him.
Because he walks onto this, I'm here to speak to my old friend. He's in there. It's like, mate, don't go in there.
Yeah, and we all knew.
And we all thought it was going to happen because I'll say for Tarantino, the suspense built up in that scene is masterful.
Yes.
Because, we all think it's going to happen. The way the suspense builds, it has to happen. And then the fact that he really speaks to his old friend and then leaves, I'm like, whoa.
And then it all accumulates in a flamethrower in the pool.
Like, seriously. Yeah. Let's take a short break.